In the fourth Eucharistic prayer, we read, for when the hour had come for him to be glorified by you, Father most holy, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The love of God goes to the end. There is no limitation to how much God loves us. The reflection that we draw immediately from the Passion narrative is always to look to the end. The love continues to be poured out of God. He's never done with us. Even in the Old Testament, He promised. And as Jesus comes, He walks and He finds His way to Calvary. It never stops. Love always flows outward in regards to God. And the moment of glorification is the moment of the crucifixion. So it is not something that we shy away, but it's actually something that we look to see the end of love. How much God loves us that He sent us His only Son. In the letter to the Philippians, in the second reading today, we find the same description in regards to this love of God. And He emptied Himself. This is the word in that end that never ends. He empties Himself of His dignity of God, and He becomes one of us in all things like us, except sin. It always shows us that the love of God always is giving on one direction. Even the Passion narrative shows a tension between God wanting to love more and then people not wanting to be loved by God. That's the tug-of-war of the Passion of the Lord. Those who do not accept Him, as the Gospel of John said, He came to His own and His own did not accept Him. So those who want to accuse Him of something that He did not do, innocent, they want to keep pushing for His crucifixion, and He wants to keep loving and giving in love. Even on the cross, as Jesus is hanging there, He asks for forgiveness. One of the thieves asks for forgiveness. And even then, He continues to empty Himself and give mercy and forgiveness to the repentant thief. He shows all this, the amount of the measure, the endless measure of love that God continues to give. A measure of love that's continued to be shown in His mercy to us. As we enter Holy Week, we look at how do we live our cross. And the truth is, how do we love? How do we love? How do we enter into this love that the Lord invites us to? Pope Benedict says, only when someone values love more highly than life, that is only where someone is ready to put life second to love. For the sake of love, can love be stronger and more than death? God is love. Love is always higher than life itself. Jesus Himself put His life and gave His life out of love. The greatest virtue we have is love. And until we're ready to lay our lives, that Jesus Himself did, He says there's no greater love than this, than to lay down your life for your friends. Until we're ready to lay down our lives, then we're not loving. Our love is measured. And that's what happens in our culture. We measure love. We like to put a limit to love. We're only going to love until this, and then after that we'll see. I think that's the challenges that we face. How do we measure love? And as we enter Holy Week, that's something that we should really consider in our life. How do we measure love? Are we loving to the end, or we just could say, I want to love only until it feels nice. And then when it doesn't feel so nice, then I want to stop loving. If we just look at the way that we have distributed mercy and forgiveness, it kind of shows us how we put our limitations on love, and that we put our line there. We have to love more than that. So when I asked Jesus, one of the apostles, how many times should I forgive my brother? And Jesus says, not 7 times, but 70 times. 7 symbolizing eternity. There is no limit to forgiveness. And that's what makes love such a deep virtue and hard for us to foster and seek. Because what happens with love is that it hurts. Let's be honest. When you truly decide and give yourself in love and you love others, and it is not something deepity-do and just floating in the air. We like that kind of love, you know, the one that Hallmark sells. That's a fantasy. It doesn't exist. We fall for that trap all the time because we think that's how love should be. Our soul is not satisfied by loving that way, that deepity-do love. Our need for love is much in depth. It's like the love that Jesus gave to the end. Like the love that parents give when they sacrifice everything for their kids. The love that husband and wives give each other when they say no to themselves in order to accommodate the other. That's the kind of love. But if we don't want to experience that kind of love, we like to keep things shallow. We don't want the cross. Keep things shallow. The other kind of love requires a lot of work. A lot of forgiving. A lot of writing sometimes. A lot of saying things, and a lot of the times not saying anything. The interesting thing in the gospel is how little Jesus speaks. And in one of the passages in the longer form, which we did not read today, says Jesus kept silent. Jesus just kept silent. Through the whole trial, he was mocked, he was lied upon, he was innocently accused, he was tossed around between a governor, a high priest, and so forth. And people are yelling, crucify him. Just think about it. These are the people that welcome him just a few days earlier and say, Hosanna, King, our King. And now they're yelling, crucify him. All those things happen to the Lord, and Jesus remains silent. There is a virtue in silence, and actually I think that silence is a mode of expression love. We tend to think that we have to say things constantly. And unfortunately, even in the administration of mercy and forgiveness to others, we want to say the last word. You know, don't we use it sarcastically and say, I forgive you. You know, such arrogance sometimes that we have to win the argument by saying the last word and saying, I forgive you. May God have mercy on you. I mean, it's like we're using God himself in order to push our own pride. But what value is there in forgiveness if we administer it in silence? In silence. Without saying a thing. Even in our minds we can complain and we say, I am right and the other person is wrong. But they don't say anything. Don't say anything. Keep it quiet. I'll say, well, Father, that's not just. Well, I'm not saying that you should be a piñata either. You know, sometimes when they're administering forgiveness, it's like, and I mentioned this in another sermon before, it's like if you have somebody who keeps injuring you, or he keeps talking lies about you or gossiping about you, there is a point you just got to keep your distance. You know, the best way to forgive is just to, okay, see you later, bye. See you in purgatory. You know, then we'll pick up the relationship then. Sometimes that's the only solution to things because people, you know, sometimes people just like to take it like piñatas, you know. You cannot do that. So I'm not talking about that. I'm speaking also the other kind of forgiveness, the kind of forgiveness that requires us to just stay quiet. And it aches. We don't have to win every argument. We don't have to prove ourselves. But that aching inside, my brothers and sisters, is the cross. It's an interior work. It's like Jesus said at the beginning of Lent. On Ash Wednesday, we read the gospel and it says, your Father who sees in secret will repay you. It is the same concept. What is forgiveness? It is not a psychological activity. We have it wrong. It's not going to be a psychological. Psychologically, we find ways and justify ways not to forgive. We create fallacies in our minds, and this is the way they sound, I think. I cannot forgive so-and-so because I don't feel like forgiving them. And if I forgive them and I don't feel like forgiving them, I'm going to be a hypocrite. So I won't forgive them because I don't want to be a hypocrite. There's a lot of wrong things with that argument. You know, it's just pride at its worst. You know, and because we're trying to rationalize. It's like similar to the argument, I'm not going to go to church because I don't feel like it. And if I go to church and I don't feel like it, then I'm going to be a hypocrite because I'm going to be there and I don't want to be there. That's a fallacy. So our reasoning is off. Because we do it out of love. You know? But so forgiveness has the same concept. You know, we have to do it out of love. And in forgiveness, we have to overcome that temptation of just rationalizing in such a way. There's to ache. There's to ache. And then when it aches, we know that we're doing the Lord's work and the Lord will see it. And then the Lord will repay us. So what should we work on this Holy Week? Ask the Lord for the virtue to show love in silence. To show love in silence. Not to say the last word. Not to counteract an argument. To just accept it. There is joy in that. It's the kind of joy that comes from the resurrection. There is the joy that knowing that we're only doing it for the Lord, and the Lord knows the pain that goes inside. That is the kind of love that we want to exercise. That is the kind of love that lasts. The love that forgives. Pope Benedict said several times, I said several times to Pope Benedict. He only said it once probably. Pope Benedict said, sometimes charity calls for you to pretend that things were not said or happened. Sometimes charity and love just calls to pretend that things were not said and didn't happen. I remember growing up with my family, sometimes my brothers and sisters, people get in disputes. So I'm sure you know that. If you don't know it, then you don't have brothers and sisters. And sometimes we didn't, we just had to, by the time you sit at the dinner table, you have to pretend the whole day did not happen. There was no winning or losing or anything. You just have to pretend. Why? Because it's love. You just have to move on. So we asked the Virgin Mary for that grace. She always kept things in her heart, and she didn't speak much in the gospel. So we asked for the virtue of silence, especially in quarrels and things that we disagree with. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.